New York's Governor Cuomo is facing a challenge from a somewhat unlikely source. Former actress Cynthia Nixon has taken her first campaign stop to television. The Wendy Williams Show. John Cuomo joins us now, tuned in, saw what she had to say. John, what do you got for us?
George, actress and now candidate for governor Cynthia Nixon made her first national television appearance since announcing her run for New York's highest office. She chatted with talk show host Wendy Williams about improving subways and schools, legalizing marijuana, and toughening gun control laws. Nixon didn't attack Governor Cuomo, her fellow Democrat, on this stage, but she mentioned the need for change in Albany. Too many men working behind closed doors. She said it's time for more women to have a seat at the table.
The election of Donald Trump was a real wake-up call, and as it was a wake-up call for women across the country, that if we don't like the direction our government is going in, we have to step up and we have to get involved like never before.
George, many Democrats across the state aren't thrilled with Nixon's decision to primary Governor Cuomo, who obviously has a high national profile. Her presence can potentially divide the Democratic Party, and many observers note she's already making some noise.
I don't know whether Cynthia Nixon has the potential to beat Cuomo, but if there were ever a year in which she could try, it's this year.
Now, on Tuesday, Cuomo pressured two rival Democratic Senate leaders in Albany to unify, and the powerful breakaway Independent Democratic Conference did agree to dissolve. Nixon took to Twitter this afternoon and did fire off some very critical tweets about the governor. She said in one, "If you set your own house on fire and watched it burn for 8 years, finally turning on a hose doesn't make you a hero." This race is very interesting early on. George, back to you.
All right, John, joining us now. You're now part of the A-plus panel. Let's bring in Peter Brown, Linden councilman.
Thank you.
And, of course, our good friend Bob Bianchi, former prosecutor and defense attorney now. Gentlemen, is the presence of another Democrat going after a figurehead like Cuomo, is that more destructive than it is helpful? Let's start with you, Bob.
Well, it's destructive, but it's what's being said. And, you know, it's Martin Luther King anniversary of his death. And I recall, I'm pretty confident, that we should be judging people by the content of their character as opposed to the color of their skin. And she wants to run. That's great. She doesn't have a background. She doesn't have credentials. She's nowhere near the experience level of Governor Cuomo. That's fine. But when we keep talking about this idea that less men, more women, she made a comment about African-American women are the backbone of the party. I think Democrats, and I am one, need to start getting away from this divisive racial splitting and sex splitting, and let's pick the best person by the content of their character as opposed to some other characteristic that they can't control. It's just bothersome to me, and I think it's killing the Democratic Party.
Well, Peter, we hear the flash words all the time: change, too many men, more empowerment, these kind of things. Is this an effective message for her, or is she just sort of regurgitating what we've heard for the last 6 to 8 years?
It is an effective message, let's be honest, and that's the reason why they're doing it. And I do agree that primary elections are good. Let's get more people involved in the process. What I disagree with is the use of Twitter and all these different sound bites. Let's talk about policy. Let's see your detailed plan as far as what you're going to do. It's easy for people to complain. It's easy for people to talk about issues. It's a lot harder to come up with a solution on how you're going to address these issues. That's what we should be seeing.
John Cuomo, we're going to give you the last word on this. I mean, we've seen campaigns. I can go back and remember when Ted Kennedy challenged Jimmy Carter, in 1980, and that was divisive. Okay, is this bad for the Democratic Party? Is it bad for Governor Cuomo?
It certainly doesn't help Governor Cuomo in his attempt to run for first re-election in the fall, and especially if he has presidential aspirations in the future. But in some ways, it could be good for him. Giving him a little test now instead of a cakewalk will sort of, toughen him up his street cred if he's going to go on to bigger aspirations across the country in maybe 2020.
All right, John Cuomo, thanks so much for your report. Gentlemen, thank you as well.
Thank you.